The Late Morning Program with Nam Ras Podcast.
All right, we're live.
Alrighty.
I mean, we're not live, but we're recording.
Doug, welcome.
Thank you. Thank you so much.
So, our viewers may be curious about your background. Probably they're curious about my background as well, though they may be already a little bit exhausted about my presence here. So I think it's the sixth time I'm coming here. Last year we recorded the fifth time with Namras, and they crowned me as the most present guy in his podcast, for better or for worse. Where are you coming from, Doug? Let us know your background, your connection with Namras, whatever you would like to share.
Absolutely, yeah. So my name is Doug, and I work with Namarasa. Been working for him since last April, and we hit it off immediately. We went down to Houston for training, and within the first, 48 hours, we had become pretty fast friends. And ever since then, it's just been us having a good time at work together, talking about all kinds of things. I'm a very curious person. I grew up in the Episcopalian community, which my mom affectionately refers to as the hippie Christians. So, and that's, I feel to this day, the best one-term description of Episcopalians too. Like the first time that we met my priest, he says, "Hey, nice to meet you, everyone. I'll be gone next week. I'm going to be at a Lady Gaga concert." We were like, "I absolutely love you," immediately, you know? So, and he was like the father of our community for a while, but that's like where I come from religiously, and me and Amul have, and Namaras have spoken a lot about different religions. I've always been very curious about these things. During my degree, because I'm in HR, I read a lot about all kinds of religions, took an entire class on Buddhism and non-West cultures and world religious studies, which was a totally different concept from trying to study like theology. It's kind of from a different perspective of going from history first. And that really resonated with me. And so since then, I've been reading a lot of Joseph Campbell, which is like Hero of a Thousand Masks. And I'm a big, oh yeah, he's amazing. Mm-hmm. And it was a bit of an awakening for me of how interested I am in all religions, what makes them religions, all those kinds of things, and the roles that they play in our society. So that's kind of my relationship with Namarasa, and then my personal interests kind of, led me to this meeting today. But yeah, I mean, I'm very interested in it. My first real obsession as a child was Greek mythology. So that's the best thing to say. That's why I'm sitting here now, Mm-hmm. But yeah, I'd say that does it. And I don't know you very well, despite everyone else in the pod knowing you well by this point. So I'd like to know more about you as well.
Thank you. I'm trying to put together some of the things you mentioned, which are all very interesting. And your mentioning of Joseph Campbell, and for me was very interesting because I'm part of this particular tradition called Gaudiya Vaishnavism. And usually most of the members of this tradition came in contact originally with the tradition by some book published by some member of the tradition or meeting some practitioner. But for me, the very first time I heard about Krishna was through a book of Joseph Campbell, actually.
Oh my gosh.
And I was like, 16, 17. It was not the Hero of the Thousand Faces, but it was a compilation of myths from the East. And one chapter was dedicated to Krishna, a particular lila, we will call, or story where Krishna, as a boy, is tied. We call it Damodar Lila. Mm-hmm. And anyhow, there were many stories about different traditions, and me and a friend of mine were reading, and we became particularly connected with that chapter and said, whenever we find more about this Krishna, because it was in the 90s, there was no Google,
right?
Who is this Krishna? So we're like, whatever you find any other book, people about this Krishna, let me know. But it all began with Joseph Campbell, so it's interesting that you mentioned him there. And that you mentioned Greek mythology, and you're asking me who I am, and of course one of the main one-liners from Greek tradition is know thyself, you will say it in English.
Oh, yeah.
So following the spirit of that line, it's difficult for me to say who I am, because it's know thyself is like a very powerful invitation to
Yeah.
don't be so sure about who you are, even when it's time for you to introduce yourself and someone asks you, who are you? And it's like, I mean, that's what I'm trying to ask to myself and to reply to myself on a daily basis. So I don't like to, of course, I can give some technical information, but there's so much to say about that. I remember it was this year, we were in California on a men's rites of initiation. It's a very interesting experience with some friends, and we were sitting on a circle, and the prompt for the circle was, okay, we start with the question, who are you? So everyone basically replied in the most usual way. My name is this, I was born this is my work, the official info, right? So the circle ended, and now everyone was expecting the next question. Next question was, who are you? So now you were invited to reply on another level, no? Deeper. Finish the circle, and by the end of the circle again, who are you? And we were like that for 3 hours.
I love that.
Exploring the who are you in one layer, the next layer, which is all about this know thyself that I will say the Greeks were so passionate about. So
Absolutely. I
all
love
that
that.
to say, I don't know. I'm not so sure what to say to your question.
Well, that might be the best answer to it in a sense, right? So,
Yeah.
and what I love about that too is that I believe the know thyself. I wish I could double check, but I think it's an Apollo, an epithet or something from Apollo, and he's like the most prideful of all gods, and I found that to be very interesting. That the most prideful, the sun god, is the one who tells us to really know ourselves. And I love that, because typically pride and self-awareness and self-understanding are seen as mutually exclusive theories. But this kind of forces you to coincide them. Like maybe that's what creates pride, is really knowing, accepting all of the good and bad things about oneself.
That's a good point. Maybe even there's there's a healthy sense to pride. Because sometimes we speak about pride, or especially going back to my tradition, we will speak about, anger or pride or things, and generally they are labeled as, I won't use the word capital sins, but like unwanted stuff.
Yes, absolutely.
But at the same time, on a deeper level, there is the idea of, on a deeper level, there is a place for all of that being expressed in a healthy way.
Absolutely.
And I was reading recently one treatise from one of our teachers called Rupa Goswami, and the book is called Ujjwal Nilamani. And he's speaking about love, and it's a very detailed exploration of the nature of divine love, sacred love, universal love. And he will explore how many of these so-called contradictory emotions, like anger or pride or fear,
Right.
and you think, they won't be there if you love. If you love, there's only love. And he will say, no, love actually is the real deep, broad love can accommodate all these other things
Yes.
that otherwise will be contradictory and makes us a walking contradiction in life. But
Right.
when you learn to love, there's a space for everything. It's not that love is excluding everything, but love is including everything.
Absolutely.
Especially those things we find now, there cannot be a place for that. This is totally counterintuitive, contradictory.
Right.
When you learn to love, you realize, wow, this is such a big vessel it can contain.
Yeah.
Especially those things that we find the most impossible to be included. Like one of my
Yeah.
teachers will say, love includes imperfection. Love is not the exclusion of imperfection, but it's the inclusion of imperfection.
Yes.
Love is so perfect that it can hold imperfection.
Yeah. It's such like an indestructible vessel for those other experiences.
Yeah.
And my mom is a huge influence for me. And a quote from her about that is that love is not a finite resource. Love is infinite. There's no, people talk about how you only have so much space in your life for so many people, which is true in terms of like recurring communication and like being able to see people like what we're doing now, right? There's only so much time in the day and the year. But in terms of like walking down the street and being able to show love to a stranger or somebody who needs it or somebody who may be being irate with you, those are the moments that she was talking about. Like love is not finite. You always have some extra in there to give.
What's the name of your mom?
Christine.
Amen to Christine.
Well, we may be doing a lot of that. She's my number one source of inspiration. She's the one who got me into Joseph Campbell as well, because it was my grandfather's favorite author, and he passed before I was born.
Okay.
So, and when I was born, somebody, I forget who it was, a nurse, somebody who knew my mom, pointed at baby me and said, I was born in Massachusetts. So she goes, "That's your father right there." You know what I mean? Like, so she did that's like how my mom tells the story too. So, like me and him have always been kindred spirits in that sense. And that's how Joseph Campbell. So my mom and my grandfather are like my main, how I've gotten this interest in religions and the concept of it. But love is really important like that. And I was thinking about this on the drive over here of the best visual representation of holding things in that I have seen so far. Believe it or not, comes from SpongeBob.
Okay.
Like from SpongeBob SquarePants. So
okay, it's a little bit past my generation, but close enough for me to know about its existence.
Right, and it's easy enough to explain.
Okay.
So he gets like sick, like the equivalent of a cold for an undersea sponge, however that would work. And he's constantly leaking bubbles from sponges are covered in holes, so there's lots of ways to let it out. And he starts corking them to try and keep them from leaking out all the time. And he ends up swelling and becoming gorged and all of these things. And then one cork breaks and he deflates like a balloon. And when I was younger, my mom would say, whenever I said, "Oh, I hate this, I hate that," my mom would say, "No, we don't hate. You may really not like something, but we don't hate." And as I got older, I've kind of talked to my mom more about these things, developing philosophies into adulthood. And I've said that I really disagree with that. That I was like, I think you need to accept hate and be able to channel it correctly to like a healthy outlet. For example, like I'm a big guy in the gym. Like I love going to the gym. So like that's a good outlet for those energies. Like we're human beings. We're incredibly imperfect, like guys dealing with the strange urges of testosterone and those sorts of experiences. I felt that trying to tell myself that I didn't feel that emotion made it stronger. And I think that, all of them are the same like that. But that's why I'm saying like love is definitely the backbone, the centerpiece to being able to envelop everything, including hatred. Because I think on the opposing side, the black and white, the yin and yang to love would be hatred, I think. So I think that love even has space for that, even its polar opposite.
Okay, let's explore that one. You have open and very interesting avenue. We may not agree on everything, which is part of the charm of the conversation.
Absolutely.
Just to normalize disagreement.
Absolutely.
Because to be honest, with all honesty, unfortunately, I find sometimes in religious communities, including mine, sometimes there is not that much of enough flexibility to allow for disagreement. Sometimes there is some official dogma or a set of beliefs or ideas and that you are expected to align with. But at the end of the day, even if you subscribe to those ideas based hopefully on experience and faith and something genuine, not blind faith,
right?
Still each one is aligning with them in their own unique way. So still there is differences in how that happens, and maybe difference of taste and even maybe difference of opinion. But sometimes, it's not so much normalized in the public arena of communication and exchange between members of any single tradition. And sometimes it's paradoxical or ironic, but we deal sometimes better in interfaith dialogue, talking with people from other traditions. When it comes to talk with people at home, so to say, it's like, I don't know how to talk to you. If we have a difference, it's like, I think Freud called it the narcissism or of the slightest difference.
Ooh.
Yeah, that's a whole thing to explore. But he will say that sometimes we end up breaking up relationship on slight differences with the closest people that we have, that with other people on bigger issues.
Right.
Anyhow, go into your topic on love and what your mom said, and so many things you mentioned were very, very interesting for me, especially, again, love being such a vessel that can accommodate so much. And that's a challenge because, again, we can feel tempted to remain so small in terms of, there's no space for that. I cannot do that. I cannot forgive that person, or I cannot forgive myself, because many times I cannot forgive that person is the excuse, is the scapegoating mechanism that actually is starting at home, and there's something unresolved here.
Yeah.
And many times we self-sabotage ourselves saying, I cannot do that. It's not possible for me. And it may not be possible here and now, but
Right.
there's a way of training the muscle, and I'm receiving proper insight and new perspectives to at least start to open to the future possibility of that being possible. Like, okay,
Yeah.
you can grow, you can love more, you can expand your vessel, accommodate more, give more space to things that you first thought this is not possible to reconcile, and see yourself as a different person, basically.
Yeah.
Through all that, and even accommodating, as you mentioned, this point of I really appreciated what you mentioned about emotions, and sometimes we may not be. Again, going back to some spiritual or religious circles, you are not supposed to be angry.
Right.
No, that's a capital sin. It's
Right.
bad. It's a symptom that you are not doing things right, like you are going apart from God or something.
Right.
So what do you do with that, especially if you started listening to all that from a 5-year-old boy? Like, it's like, oh, I'm so bad.
Yeah.
So you go on a guilt trip for eternity after that. You pick, as I like to say, you start a weeping festival, weeping here and weeping, because you feel so bad about yourself. So instead of normalizing, okay, anger is an emotion. As I write in one of my books, emotions are not good or bad. Emotions are.
I totally agree. Absolutely.
What you do with them can be good or bad.
Yes.
But the emotion many times is connected with energy in motion.
Well, I've never heard that one before. That's really nice. Energy in motion.
So there are different energies in different forms of motion, right? And we put names to that. Okay, this is labeled anger, this is labeled sadness, this is labeled excitement, whatever, right? There are so many emotions. That's another conversation.
Right.
Because many people have a very poor emotional glossary, so to say. They are not very much emotionally fluent.
Yeah.
They may say, I'm happy, I'm sad, I'm angry, and almost I don't know what else to say. And there are so many other ways to name your energy in motion, what's happening inside.
Yeah.
So yeah, it's energy in motion, the things that you have to keep the energy in motion.
You do. And if you try and stop it, it's funny. Then there's like emotional inertia at play. It's emotions want to flow.
Yeah.
They want to undulate and mix with each other and flow in and out, all those things. And if you stop it, then that's going to create, this like weird shock wave of like poor emotional processing, I suppose.
Yeah, and then you have also, I love to study words and etymology, and you have like, okay, the word depression is unfortunately quite popular nowadays. Most people know what we are talking about.
Especially in the winter. Yeah.
Especially in the winter, yeah. And depression is not very far away from repression.
Mm-hmm.
So when you repress something, no wonder you feel depressed at one point. Like depression more is a symptom. There is something that is being pushed down, thrown under the carpet. You are not allowing the energy in motion to be in motion. That's not a natural process. So it's creating some implosion, repression. Use the word you want, but it's not natural. It's not the natural rhythm of things.
That's so cool. Where my brain just went to was that's kind of like how you can all these different temperature and whatever winds blowing, but when they sort of start to crash into each other the wrong way, then you have a tornado, then you have a thunderstorm, and then you have a disaster, a natural disaster on your hands. So I don't know, but there's a parallel there.
Yeah, microcosm. So
Yeah.
you have the outer tsunamis. You can have an inner tsunami, an inner Katrina, so to say.
Yeah.
I mean, literally.
Yeah, absolutely.
If we do not acknowledge and respect the cycles, I like to speak about weathers of the heart. Now, there are different weathers. Now, if you say, okay, I only want summer or spring happening. I'm an harmony junkie.
Right.
Everything wants to learn. It's not natural.
It's funny. The moment that you did that too, I saw my mom in my. I was like, that's literally her as a person too.
Okay.
And that's like that. She struggles with that, being able to accept the darkness of the human experience, to be able to just kind of swallow it and go, I'm going to digest this slowly, but I'm going to let it,
And of course, we are not pointing on your mom and saying she's the only one going through that. That's such a universal.
Of course.
Many times that's so much required to universalize our personal struggle, right? Because we may be struggling with, dealing with my shadow in Jungian terms. And when you think, okay, it's my problem, and you kind of feel like nobody else is going through that, it's just me going through that, you isolate yourself. Apart from the problem, you're isolating yourself with that problem. So it's another layer of problem.
Yeah.
And you feel so lonely, like, oh, I'm going through this myself.
Mm-hmm.
So it's so important to normalize and put that in conversation to allow everyone else to raise their hand and say, it's not your problem, it's our problem, because it's a universal condition.
It goes from being a person on an island to, you know, a series of islands, and then it all becomes emerged. You know,
as they say that no man is an island, right?
Yeah.
So in our philosophy, at least, we will say Sambandha, that everything exists in relationship. We are not isolated beings.
right?
Which, of course, it's another one of the big conditions of our time and age: isolation, loneliness, people feeling like too much in their own bubble. And as much as I love and use social media, it facilitates a lot. It also tends to enslave ourselves in a bubble of paradoxical, simultaneous hyper connectivity with everyone.
Yeah.
And no connection with anyone.
I struggle.
How do you
a lot
feel
with
that as a Gen Z
Yeah, good question.
embodiment, please?
I'm probably a bit of an outlier. I have not partaken in social media in any way since 2016, because I felt that kind of paralyzing maelstrom of emotions, of self-consciousness, of an unrequited weird sense of empathy. Like what you're saying, like you feel that you're an inch away from these people through social media, but you can't make the connection through some kind of barrier that's literally non-existent. So that would mess with me so much. I would post something and then be so in my head. Even if it's like, I used to have a very small Instagram account that I would post only to close friends. Even that. And I go, what am I doing? Like, I've always been a self-conscious guy, like very sensitive, all those kinds of things, emotional dude. But then it came into that, and I was like, this isn't doing anything for me. So I stopped, and that was right at like a big mental health turning point in my life too. Like, as far as the big, what you could say, climaxes, plot points of like my life story, that was after probably the darkest one. And then I just started clearing things off my plate that I didn't need to eat. So, and that was the biggest one, and it made my plate very light after that. And so I've never even had an urge to go back to social media since, aside from posting about my marriage coming up, so it's like that kind of a thing. Thank you very much. Yeah. So just to tell all the people who maybe haven't heard from me in a while, haven't seen me in a while, like, hey, this is what's up. If you want to reach out, I'm around and I'm doing well.
He's still alive, happy.
Yeah.
About to get married.
Yeah.
Beautiful guy.
I'm okay. I'm doing all right. But, and some people from back then would probably be shocked to see it, So that's one of those reasons why I'm like, I should do that. I reconnected with a friend that I met in 4th grade yesterday. When I moved to New Jersey, he was like my closest friend. And I just reconnected with him yesterday because I saw his mom at her business, like where she was working and stuff. So like that kind of openness, like that's why I want to put it out there, is to show, come back around into my life if you want to be, right? To fight off that loneliness. Because as I approach, 30, and I've accepted now of like I'm no longer like the young buck. You know what I mean? I was like, it's still, prime-ish age range, but like getting towards the second half of it. And I like it. It's so much calmer. I enjoy being this age more than when I was 19. But yeah, I think I'm getting a little off topic, but
fine.
Yeah.
Sounds like you're aging, like they will say, like fine wine.
I'm trying to desperately.
You're not that old yet.
Yeah.
Even.
I still get carded if I try and buy alcohol. They still ask me how old I am. So that's a big badge on it for me for as long as that lasts,
I appreciate your testimony because, again, for people of your age, even of my age, even of my mom's age, being on social media is normal. So, like in my case, I have been in social media. I'm in social media, but also I try to take at times certain special months of our tradition. Sometimes I do a 1-month disappearance from it, and
beautiful.
It's great. I mean, in the first days, it's not so great. You can see, but it's a good way to know thyself. Going back there.
Yeah.
Because it's easy to say, no, I'm using this. In our philosophy in particular, we have a concept called yukta vairagya, which means like proper renunciation. which for us proper renunciation doesn't mean to reject things, but to engage everything in God's service, in the service of love. So there's nothing that intrinsically needs to be rejected. We don't.
Okay.
Nothing is intrinsically evil. Just there is distorted ways of approaching people, things, realities. So there's always a way of approaching things in a productive, healthy way. But of course, the idea is beautiful and romantic and real, but it can be really, it can become a very perfect formula for spiritual bypassing and like, no, it's everything proper renunciation. I'm engaging with social media to enlighten the world, but below the carpet, you are getting addicted to that. So in the context of know thyself, okay, take a 1 month detox and see how much cold turkey comes to the surface.
Yeah, like, do you miss it even? Like, so many people take a month off and they go, oh, I don't care, like, at all. And that's what happened to me. I just stopped posting for a little while, and I went, my God, my brain feels nice and quiet, you know? And that was a big struggle of mine growing up, was just the loudest brain. So, like so many other young people. That was really big.
Yeah, not only volume I'm thinking, but also speed. Like things are getting faster and faster, and social media makes that. I mean, I generally do not scroll. Though I have my accounts, Facebook, Instagram, just publish whatever I want to publish, but I'm not like checking on people's accounts or scrolling.
Right.
But sometimes when I'm traveling, I travel quite a lot on planes or something, and I just see someone like. And just I do not even look at the screen. I just look at the hand doing like this, like wow.
You're not even looking at it.
At one point, you won't have the phone, and you will be just like this with this stick.
You have a tick.
It's like wow, that's fast. That's quite fast.
Yeah, it is.
Because I don't read a book like this, right? You take your time. You intern. Like I was talking to a friend. He told me in the past, if I want to know the meaning of a word, I will go to a library, find a book.
Yeah.
It's a whole process, going from home to library, getting the book, sitting. So in that whole time period, you warranted that you were internalizing the content.
Yes.
Because it took time to get to it. Then you go back home, okay, it's there.
Right.
But now it's like, it's entering here, leaving there, and nothing stays, basically.
Absolutely. I can't binge anything for that reason. Because that's like that, umbrella word that they use for that. Like for right now, Stranger Things is really big. The TV show, it's America's focus right now. And it's hour-long episodes. It's one of those shows. And I refuse to watch them back to back because I'll forget it. I'll forget the whole story. So I'm really big on that. Like with Joseph Campbell too. I still haven't even finished The Hero of a Thousand Masks because every time I try and read an excerpt, a section from that book, it sends me down this like digestion path of like, I'll sit back in my chair, like lean back and everything, and then just think about it for like an hour.
That's how it's supposed to be.
Yeah. And with Joseph Campbell, it's one page will do that to you.
Yeah.
He's a dense author.
Yeah. I remember Thomas Merton. He's a Christian mystic and author, very recommended one, poet and very special person, and very open to many other traditions. He will say when you are reading a book and you find a particular line that strikes you, close the book, your meditation has started. Or the fruit of your reading has started.
Oh, I do that.
So once the fruit of the reading is closing the book and entering into contemplation of the implications of that line, and there's very similar to a Christian method of reading, mystical reading called Lectio Divina, which means you read something, you find a word or a line or a paragraph or a sentence that strikes you, stop reading. It's not about finishing the book.
Right.
It's about entering and living into the book, so to say.
Yeah.
And just close the book and try to think as much as you can about that line. And when even your thinking faculties reach a rooftop, in Christian tradition, they will say, now you start to pray for God to reveal further insight that you cannot reach by yourself.
Interesting.
So you pray for that. And then after that, you stay in silence to hear God's reply back.
Wow.
So all that
That's
is a
beautiful.
whole process with stages about how to approach scripture, basically, or whatever you're reading.
How interesting.
Which is very different, again, by making the contrast very different to this hyper speedy thing of consuming stuff that we are through, and there is no span of attention, basically.
Yeah, absolutely.
And that's very, for me it's very dangerous, because if we can offer something to anyone, is our attention, our presence. If I no longer have any presence capacity
Yeah.
to offer to you, if I'm here and after 10 seconds I'm like, where's my phone? Or where's
Yeah.
Or even not the phone, but I start to go somewhere else, because
Yeah.
I cannot. I mean, what can we offer to each other, basically, right?
Absolutely.
Apart from the attention. Even in religious circle, they would say you attend service. So attend has to do not only with the formal religious, social, cultural thing, but attention.
Yeah.
Like being there.
That's a good thing to focus on too, because so many people just go through the motions of religion, and to call out the Christian community a bit too, that's like a big thing that they go through. So many people just go through the motions of wanting to upkeep an image of being a happy Christian American family, and
Not only Christian, just in case.
Oh yeah, absolutely.
We have our own version of it.
Yeah, that's good to know. Actually, seriously,
Yeah.
because it also with the whole, just because the Christianity thing is kind of wrapped up with the American dream image. And it's like the nuclear family, that kind of thing is what they used to call it. The white picket fence and all that kind of stuff. And it's just a facade for a lot of people. And I can't stand that. Like, to me, religion is so much more important than that. And it shouldn't be something that's done emptily. You know what I mean? Not something that's done for an image. Because it's supposed to be extremely intimate and individual. Like, you can have the same scriptures to 10 people and they have 10 different images of God, 10 different, perceptions of the meaning of that message. And that subjectivity is something I really like to think about clearly. And I also think it's something that a lot of religions struggle to encapsulate, struggle to bring into their circle, because something that I've always wanted to find, like an established religion that felt like home. Like, I've always kind of been shopping my whole life, and it's not Christianity. It's not going to be any sect, for just the base reason that it's been incredibly polluted. I'm a history first type of guy. Like, when I study religions, it's through like a world religious studies approach instead of a theology approach, which, as my professor explained to me back then, was that some world religion professors will get offended if you like walk in going, is this the theology class? Because it's a different angle entirely. Theology is through like being on the inside and like sort of
faith seeking understanding, as
Yes.
sometimes theology is described. Yeah.
Absolutely, yeah. And this is sort of saying, like, defining what a religion is, taking a look at the historical presence of it. And in that class, I had already researched it enough on my own before that, but that kind of reaffirmed that the amount of times the Bible has been changed to suit some random king's preferences in history to like, carry out a crusade and kill lots of people. So, and I'm like, how all these people that are going to the church, are they aware of this? It's an issue I have with a lot of things. Like, are they aware of the glaring issues with the structure of what they're participating in? And I love Episcopalian culture, I really do. But even with them, who I laud as the most loving and accepting Christians for sure, I wonder what their relationship is with that. Because I find myself unable to fully commit to a religion without being okay with the base of it. Even though it's individual and subjective in my own experience, something about the man involvement and the selfishness or the whatever it was that was driving the change of those Bible versions in the past, I should research it more and see like if did they find a one before, what were the differences between version A and version B, rough draft and final copy. But even then, it's at what point is it divine at that point? Like, if it's been changed by so many different kings over generations, is it still even a divine text anymore? Because those kings were horrible people in most cases. So that's something I struggle with. And that's something that I've wanted to talk about in this conversation as well. It's kind of like the big ticket topic is like, I'm a skeptic by nature. And I don't know a lot about Hare Krishna as a whole. So like, how did it get started? You know what I mean? Like, what was the genesis of this? And what was the relationship between man and divine in the creation of the religion, if that makes sense? It's a doozy of a question, I know.
There are like 108 questions inside that one,
Yeah.
at least for me.
Yeah, right. Yeah.
Wow, there's a lot there. Yeah, thank you so much for. I'll go there in a minute, but I was thinking, thank you for the question. And in our tradition, there's big tradition of thanking the questioner, because many times the proper questions kind of learning to make yourself or make others the proper question triggers whatever we need to, and that's very much connected with Greek thought and Socrates for a moment. Meiotics, I think you pronounce it in English, that he will not give answers but will say things to invite the person to find their own answers by asking questions many times. Recently, I think your mom also, you mentioned to me, she was trained as a coach.
Yeah.
I did a coaching also training at the beginning of this year.
Nice.
So I'm officially a coach, guys, just in case. I don't have my diploma
Put a blast
here, but I
out.
can show it.
Flash the business card right there. Yeah.
And the main reason for me to do it is not that I'm working on that or I'm planning to make a career out of it, but I was intrigued about the developing the skills of listening the other person and making the proper question. For me, coaching is a lot about make the right question to evoke the proper answer in the person, not me giving the answer to the person. This is what you should do with your life. This is how you should. So for me, that all began with Socrates and his meiotic system, what he would just say things to take the person to find the question for themselves.
Get deeper into their own thing.
Yeah.
It's a very good therapist technique too.
Yeah.
Every good therapist I've ever had does that.
Yeah. And that's not easy. The greatest temptation is like, I have the answer to your problem, to your life. You listen to me, this, like that. And no, be humble and learn to present questions and allow the person to make their own exploration, right?
I love that.
So all that to say, thank you for your question. And as you mentioned, also as in Christianity as with any other tradition, to be honest, because I engage a lot with different schools, I like to call them sister traditions. And in all of them, there is a mystical dimension. I will say that is beyond using religion as a mask, because that's always there. No? Like getting stuck in the social, cultural, formal dynamics of the whole thing and not getting to the crux of it.
Yeah.
That's everywhere. But in every tradition you find, whether it's our school, mystical Christianity, Sufism, here and there, you find really deep people that when you meet them or know about their lives or their teachings, you realize, oh, this is undeniable. There is something here.
Yeah.
Right? Of course, still there is what you say, is some historical discrepancies or this thing there. And I'm not, I totally agree with your historical approach. I personally believe in a multidisciplinary approach to a tradition. So it's not just theology
Of course.
coming from the insiders, but okay, what about history? What about psychology? What about these other secular disciplines that can shed light and inform your own path, especially if you're interacting with the world? So I just want to make that point that despite many of these discrepancies or relative things that are clearly historic from a merely historical perspective, that are incongruent, and there is lots of opinions, again, among Christians, for example, some of them, you will find this division of people thinking, okay, for some scripture is infallible or inherent. They have this whole thing with the inherency of the Bible.
Right.
And some others will not agree with that. And will see the relativity of it. Okay, this was spoken at this time, but this king, in this context, and that's more not a principle, but a detail.
Right.
And the actual essence is this.
Yes.
Love your neighbor as love thee. More about the love part and foundational part of every tradition, actually. So in my study of different traditions, I'm not saying it's the most comprehensive one, but there's something there. And I found, in most traditions, you will find relative elements connected to culture and time and ways of thinking. But also you will find the essence and how that essence is being replicated in all these traditions and talked about and embodied by saints and mystics.
Right.
So you find the commonality in both things. The commonality on the relativity of the social cultural dynamics and the corruption sometimes and whatever.
Right.
Things and the commonality about genuine practitioners who are having a deeply personal experience with the divine. So going to Hare Krishna, which actually is not the name of our tradition, just a technical clarification, though we are here being part of the #1 Hare Krishna podcast in the world. It's a popular way of referring to us because our main mantra or meditation sound we engage in is this mantra which begins with Hare Krishna, right? But includes other words like Rama, right?
Right.
But since we sing a lot Hare Krishna, especially some decades ago, but still now in the streets many times, and people in the streets hear people Hare Krishna, that may be the first thing they remember.
That's interesting.
Oh, they are the Hare Krishnas.
Interesting.
Yeah, that's my assumption how we came to be known officially in the world as Hare Krishna. Of course, some of the practitioners themselves will refer to their movement as the Hare Krishna movement.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, technically it's called Gaudiya Vaishnavism. So where it began, okay, let's go to the history. I'm talking with the history nerd here.
Yeah.
It's a good word, nerd. It's not
It
a bad
is.
word. I'm nerdy as well.
It's a good word.
Yeah,
It's a
yeah.
compliment to me.
Yeah, let's not bully people using the word nerd. It can be a
Oh,
good
yeah.
praise.
Absolutely.
So, in one sense, the whole thing is the following. Like we will speak about, just to make a parallel with Christianity. Christianity, we will say, okay, it began a few thousand years ago. But in one sense, it emerged from Judaism, the Jewish tradition. No? Christ was not a Christian.
Right.
As simple as that
Yeah.
is. But Jesus was not a Christian, right? Jesus
Right.
was a Jew.
Mm-hmm.
No? And at the same time, interestingly, his main campaign, if we want to call it that way, was not establishing an official religion.
Right.
No, it's not like, okay, this is called like this and it's like that. He just was, in my opinion, a great teacher, great personality,
Absolutely.
great lover, non-institutional,
Yes.
non-dogmatic, and non-conformist.
Mm-hmm.
It has always a price. There's always a price to pay for being non-conformist. As we see, probably there will be persecuted or killed unjustly by your own people.
Yep.
But he didn't establish an organized religion, basically.
Right.
It had all those stuff happen in time, and I'm not saying that's bad. I mean, everything has pros and cons. But my point is, you study the life not only of Jesus but of many other great personalities.
Yes.
And we will see they were not establishing an official religion, but they were just like blooming with divine love and
Siddhartha.
spreading them. Yeah, exactly. Spreading that as an epidemic, basically. Talking about pandemics and like became contagious.
Yeah.
So somehow that's how I will relate the beginning of our own school with a figure named Sri Chaitanya, which in our tradition we consider him God himself actually appearing on earth. We have this term avatar, which means like divine descent. And again, what I love also in our tradition is that very broad and non-sectarian, because we may say, okay, our Sri Chaitanya is the avatar of God, and there's no other avatar. We happen to have the only divine descent in the whole world.
Right.
That's not what it says. In our tradition, say these avatars or divine descents are, in Sanskrit, it says asankhya, which means uncountable.
Huh.
So basically leaves the door open to God can come in so many forms and times and ways, however, whenever he wants, and we cannot just put a number on it. Only this 3, only this 4, only this 10. That's it. Now, who we are to limit the infinite. So,
Right.
As we may acknowledge in our tradition, we consider these persons as a divine manifestation. At the same time, we are, at least in principle, we're humble enough. I mean, I'm not saying I'm humble, but the doctrine is humble enough to say there are uncountable divine descents. Like leaving the door open for God to do whatever he likes, so to say, to manifest and express himself in ways that may not be inside my particular lineage. But who am I to say, no, God can only come in my lineage? That's nonsense, following this foundational teaching from our tradition. So in principle, It's very non-sectarian. I'm not saying every practitioner fully represents that non-sectarianism.
Of course.
But in principle, it's very open and non-sectarian. So
That's very Campbellian too. That's very in line with like that Hero of a Thousand Masks thing. So I really like that. And also one of the reasons why I'm sitting here is because of my genuine interest into everything that you guys do. So because I keep finding, like, I hear things like about that, about how, the at least the base starting line of the principle is that it's pretty aligned with the one God theory, right? It's like, okay, he might have dropped in over there for a while and then done some things in that part of the world, and now they carried on with the message in their interpretation of it, and that's how we got that started. And that's how you guys had, like, that's how your path started in terms of the creation of the belief now. So that's really fascinating. It's like I keep finding things I really like about the principles that are followed by the community, at least in a general statement. And I like it. I like it a lot. And I was going to read the Gita before I came, but I kind of wanted to go in blind to this whole thing and all of that. Because something that Namarasa knows too is that I have a very high interest in Arjuna, because we've talked a little bit about it, and I just have a
He's
huge.
muscular than you, like you.
Yeah.
I mean that.
Maybe that's why it's probably a kinship.
No, I'm not limiting to that, but that may be a good entry point. It's fine, no problem.
What I loved about him first more than anything was the skepticism.
Okay.
I just love the question asking, because I really loved what you said about thanking for the question. I think that's incredible. And I always feel that too. When someone asks me a question on something that I'm like, they asked a very good question that's on something I care about and that I have a lot to share on, I do feel gratitude. Like, that's like the first thing that I feel when someone asks me a great question. I go, thanks. Oh, wow, I'd love to talk about that. So I'm definitely going to walk with that. I'm going to carry that with me. It's a lovely concept.
Yeah.
And I think asking questions is probably the most important part of being a human being. If I could sum it up to one thing.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah. And questions set us on a quest.
Yeah.
Right. For me, we have a weekly online gathering in Zoom with our Sangha or our community, and it's mostly what we will call Q&A, questions and answers.
Mm-hmm.
But I don't like the word answers too much, because answer for me sounds like you bring the question, I give you the answer, end of the conversation, next question.
Right.
And many times a question is not only setting the questioner on a quest, but it sets the replier on a quest itself. Because you may send me a question, it's like, wow, that's a good question.
Right, exactly.
And I'm tripping.
Yeah. You're elsewhere. You're like, you're in the thought.
And I may say something, I will say something as a reply to your question, but that doesn't mean to be a definitive answer. There's nothing else to be said.
Yeah.
What to speak in spiritual conversation, that we are all talking about the infinite.
Right.
So how much can you say enough about the infinite?
Yeah, well, yeah, exactly.
So it's an open-ended conversation for eternity. You can always say something else. So, but yeah, questions are very important. As you say, many times questions may come from a skeptic place, and a skeptic doesn't necessarily mean that you are like toxically doubtful and want to prove the other person wrong, and that you are like a demon atheist that is distrusting everything. And because sometimes
that is how I've been received before.
Stigmatized like that.
Yeah,
like,
absolutely.
how dare you to have such a question?
Yeah.
But if the question comes from a genuine place, that I need to have this question, that question is to be honored and praised. That person is to be garlanded.
I hear what you mean.
Even if it's challenging, if it's uncomfortable, if it sets the replier on a trip of even a faith crisis.
Yeah. it can be a good thing.
Happen,
yeah, it can be a good thing, right? Because it's like, it's a perspective change. And that's always the place I'm coming from, is always, I almost don't have like doubt. That word isn't really like what I have in my heart when I'm asking those sorts of skeptical questions. It's more like, okay, but have you thought about this? It's like, does it hold water? I'm testing. It's like how you, if you're walking across a rickety bridge, it's like you take a step and you tap your toe first before you fully put your weight on it. So just like how I said, like I shop around and I look at all these different religions, because I just have a very strong sense of spirituality. I love thinking about these things. I think there's truth in spirituality that other frames of thought can't really reach. So that's like, it's always from a very loving and like, I want to know more about what other people's world is. So that's I'm grateful to hear that. You know what I mean?
Yeah, I totally get it, and I hear you, and I appreciate that, and And all these personalities that you quoted Arjuna, but there are so many others in different sacred texts in our tradition. And most of the main texts, like the Bhagavad Gita or another book in our tradition, Srimad Bhagavatam and others, many of these ancient narratives are all framed in a question and answer setting. So there's always questions.
Told me that. Yeah.
There are always questions coming that allow for an answer. And without the question, you may not have the answer.
Right.
Again, answer. The ongoing conversation never ends. But many times you have that, someone asking a question, and again, the reply before replying, praising the questioner.
Yeah.
Wow, that's such a great question. Thank you so much. You have blessed me with that question, literally, to that degree. It's the guru, the teacher, praising the student. This is very counterintuitive for some people, which may think, oh, the guru knows everything and the student has just to shut up and listen.
Right.
And now you have a student asking a question from a real sincere place, but it may be seen as challenging. And the guru, in a very humble way, is saying, you have blessed me with your skepticism, if you will.
Yeah.
A healthy one.
Yeah.
And now your question allows me to answer on a new level that I was not even aware of.
Right.
That happens to me a lot. I speak a lot and give lots of lectures, and I will say that most of the lectures, I can give lectures on one specific topic, though I don't like pre-scripted stuff, but just to be in the moment.
Yeah.
Even if I would know, okay, today I will talk on this, but most of my favorite sharings are open Q&A. I call them not Q&A, but Q&E, quest and exploration.
Oh, I love it.
And I invite people like, okay, what do you like to, what's in your heart today? What do you like to share? And I don't know what they will say. I will be totally caught by surprise. They don't know what I will say. Nobody knows what anyone will say.
Yes.
But always you end up in so many wonderful places. And many times I'm like, wow, that thing that I just said was so cool.
Yeah.
But it was not me. So I have no reason to be proud. In one sense, it was not only divine inspiration, but also it was the inspiration coming from the guy who asked the question in the first place. And I'm in between all that, trying to.
It's beautiful.
Honor. It's beautiful.
That's that back and forth, that relationship is beautiful, and that's like how they say, if you're studying as a young one in school, and you have a test coming up, teach it to someone. They might ask you something, go, oh, I didn't think about that, and there's something about that too. It's like I firmly believe, as it seems you do too, that like no one knows everything about anything. So. And for example, like a layman's perspective, kind of why I'm here, is can be valuable because it goes, oh, I've been inside of this world for so long, I didn't think about that. And one of my favorite expressions of that is from David Foster Wallace, who's a postmodern. I love him so much. That really started. I kind of ended up at Joseph Campbell, started by the raw, cerebral, terrifying power of David Foster Wallace, because that is his books give you that feeling of just intense intelligence. And he talks about, there was a speech he did actually
On water.
Yeah. Oh, you know it. Oh, I'm so happy that you know that. This is water.
I quote him in my second book.
Oh, awesome. Yeah. So you already know I'm going.
Epigraph of one of my chapters. A quote from that speech. Yeah.
Speech is really for the audience. It's a fantastic speech. I invite anybody to look it up. It was a college commencement speech, I believe. Like everybody was graduating and he was sending them off. And he said, you have two young fish swimming downstream, having a lovely day, talking to each other, blah, blah, blah. No, what are you doing? I'm kind of hungry, whatever. And then an older fish is swimming upstream, going the other way, and turns to them and nods his little fish head and goes, water's nice today, boys. Continues on his way upstream. The two younger fish, and I won't curse because he does, but he continue on down the stream.
I think you have permission for one per episode.
Oh, right. That's our rating. And
Rasa gave the blessing.
I'll do it light anyway, just to be nice. And it's going downstream, and then they turn to each other and go, "What the hell is water?" And it's a very short thing, but it immediately punches you with the meaning that goes, we're so unaware of the things that are around us at all times. And that valuing of skepticism, that makes complete sense that you have that wrapped into the things that you talk about. Because without skepticism, you don't know where you are in space, Yeah.
And you can become a cult because you are so insular in your own, you are only receiving input from your own insiders. So you are reinforcing your assumptions. your prejudice, even if you're a religious group or as an individual, right?
Right.
There's no input from outside of yourself, and the only point of reference is one single monolithic feedback.
That's very
It's
profound.
so dangerous.
I think that's really profound too. The wording of the word cult. Someone becoming their own individual cult. I mean, it's like an echo chamber on steroids. You know, it's wow. Yeah, I think that's
We don't
something
need to
that
have
people need to hear.
these big religious cults that we all know about. You can just be your own walking cult by yourself.
Yeah, and it disillusions the word cult a little bit too, because that's something that class I took did a great job of like the word cult has really been taken to a strange place.
Yeah, in one sense, you could define cult in a more realistic way as just a situation in which you are immune to outside input and feedback.
It's like not stubborn, but very inline collective thought, and that can even be within a person, because then whatever other sides of you, we all have many side facets to
all the
ourselves,
voices.
right? Yeah, and if they all line up to the same voice, that's probably some bad news.
Yeah,
That doesn't sound like a healthy thing.
Yeah.
Is if everything's agreeing with you internally, you know?
Yeah. So boring. Not only so dangerous, so boring.
And like scary quiet. You know,
Yeah.
it's nice to have
But I will
a
say
quiet
that,
brain, but
as scary as that is, I will say there's lots of scared people behind that cult-like pattern that they are very afraid of exploring something outside the known, the predictable, the familiar. So even on the outside, they look like not fanatical and rigid and strong, quote unquote. I'm thinking like this. I feel like, but behind there's so much fragility that is they are incapable of coexisting with anything that does not subscribe to their little box. So to say.
right, exactly.
They don't know what to do, how to feel, what to know.
Yeah.
So it's
That's
so,
a feeling I could never relate to. You know what I mean? Like I get very excited when something's brought to my attention that I wasn't aware of before. Like it's an exciting thing. Like what you said before about know thyself. I think that should be the podcast title. It's a really true thing, and that how important it is to know oneself. But the thing is, like, you can never assume that you do fully know yourself, because that's a
an
disservice.
ongoing one-liner.
Yeah, right.
It's not like it's not a dead end. Know thyself, so you will reach a point where if you really know thyself, you will be
know
on
that
that
you're
journey
still learning.
forever.
Yeah, that maybe knowing thyself is being aware that you're always
Yeah.
going to be changing. It's like
Yeah.
being aware of your constantly changing state. Yeah.
That's one of these main one-liners from Socrates, right? The only thing I know is that I know nothing,
Yep.
basically.
That is my favorite quote
And
of
when
his
you
too.
know about his life, like this guy knew a lot of stuff, and his realization is, I know nothing. In the words of one of our teachers, Siddhar Maharaj, he'll say, the closest you get to the infinite, the more you will realize there's no limit to progress.
Right.
So
Yeah.
the more humble you will become, because you are on the shores of infinity. And you can never, in my own words, I like to say, you can never colonize infinity. Now put the flag. I got it. I trapped it. I understood it. It's like, it's
It's a very
everywhere.
funny image.
It's
yeah.
infinite.
Yeah.
How
It just
can
goes
you
on
colonize
forever.
infinity?
Yeah.
Right?
It's like a game of Risk that literally goes on forever. You know,
Exactly.
just endless, more countries, more land, whatever. That's a lovely visual too. The endless exploration of self.
Yeah. That's a topic of my third book that I published half a year ago, which is basically all about, I call it Evolution and Divine Love. And the subtitle is this eternal becoming of God, soul, and matter. And it's all about becoming and evolving and growth and expansion, and how the whole thing is an ongoing journey, basically.
Right.
It's not
right.
just you're in point A, you reach point B, game over, my friend, you have arrived to heaven or whatever.
Right.
Nothing else to do, nothing else to discover. Sounds like an eternal dead end.
It does.
It sounds more like hell than like heaven. But
does.
some people practice their spiritual life with that idea of like, I'm here, but one day I reached there, I got my up and down cloud.
Yeah.
I remember one Simpsons episode with Homer going like with the cloud up, cloud down, cloud up, cloud. That was his idea of heaven.
Yeah.
Right? It's like, that's hell.
Yeah. It's just a different color of
Yeah.
the same exact thing that you've been in.
Yeah.
You know, the same, wheel of whatever it is that you're doing.
Yeah. So yeah, for us in our tradition, it's in principle we are very much, again in principle, because sometimes in practice we unfortunately do not reflect that in the same way, some of us. And it happens again. It's part of life and acknowledging.
Beautiful human imperfection, right there.
Yeah, but that's also the risk with. I remember here, I think from Carl Jung as well, which I really love.
Me too.
He will say there is a price to having in your life a high ideal, because you will be basically falling short of that ideal on a daily basis.
Yeah.
So how you deal with that without, again, going into a guilt trip, feeling miserable all the time, continuing with hope, with enthusiasm, with fascination with the ideal,
Yes.
with acceptance of
Curiosity,
where you
excitement.
are, contentment and gratitude for where you are, but also not to the point of stagnation.
Right.
It's a whole balancing of so many
It's a
things.
tough, it's a tightrope walk. You
Yeah.
know, it can be a hard balance for sure. Oh man, that's
How you deal with that.
it's a lot to deal with. It is, but at the same time, once again, like if I were to sum myself up into one word, it would be curious. So yeah, I think that one I may be on the side where it comes a little bit easier to me. So like because clearly I had a great influence with my mom. So and the way that she set me up to think about life, to think about religion, to think about myself was very, you're not better than anyone, but you're sure as heck not worse than anyone. And just explore yourself and never stop learning. The day you stop learning is the day they lower you into the dirt. To be grim. But yeah, that's
Thank Mom.
yeah, she's truly, and she's gonna probably well up when she sees this episode too. She goes, "Oh, I came up all this time." But even Namarasa will back that up too. I think he says Queen Christine sometimes. So
When Christine Kijai.
so yeah, it's lovely. She's gonna love hearing this.
Yeah.
I would like to ask, because this is something I have not gone into with Namaras with our conversations at work. Afterlife, after death, so to say. What happens? I know nothing about what your tradition views death as.
Okay. So in our tradition, we, like other traditions, and again, there are some case and arguments and books and research, even to the point of religions like Christianity and Judaism having originally embraced ideas like reincarnation, but eventually some of those things have been taken out of the book. Anyhow, that's another conversation going to our tradition. And that's a very normal belief, and I will say belief, but ideally, I don't like very much the word belief, because belief for me sounds more like a mental conviction, but
Like more
lacking a
flippant.
personal experience.
Yeah.
Like, again, going back to Jung for a moment, and once someone asks him, "Do you believe in God?" I say, "No, I don't believe in God. I know He exists."
Right.
So it's like if someone asks me, "Do you believe in God's existence?" And so I don't. That's wrong question.
Yeah.
I know He is real. I don't need to believe.
Right.
No, so for us, it's more about you have to have a personal experience. In the Bhagavad Gita, that's one of the main lines. Pratyaksha Bhagamam says, "This is understood by personal experience, by personal realization." You can have theology and dogma and concepts and ideas and theory and information, but you have to practice, experience, internalize it, make the knowledge wisdom,
Right.
and so on and so forth. So we may speak more about faith than belief, and faith for us is the natural trust that comes from an undeniable experience,
Right.
right?
Yep.
At the same time, and this is the paradox, when you have an experience of the divine, which I've had, and I'm not saying I'm special because of having it. I mean, in one sense, we are all having an experience of God. The point is whether we are there or not for us to acknowledge that
Right.
as such.
And we're ready to receive.
Yeah. So when you have a genuine experience of the infinite, I'm saying infinite God, I like to say sweet absolute. There are so many words. They're just words to refer to this reality. In one sense, it's undeniable, but at the same time, it's, how to say in English, like fathomless.
Yeah. Yeah.
So you cannot deny you had it, but you cannot fully understand it. You cannot, because immediately we try many times to make sense of our experience, and that's where you start to lose the experience many times. I want to speak an experience with the infinite. So anyhow, going to the question, we will, like other Eastern traditions, will accept the notion of reincarnation of multiple lives, like the soul or the Atman, we will say the self,
Yes.
being eternal, not having a beginning, not having an end. You will find lots of that when you dare to open Bhagavad Gita?
Oh, I'm going to.
Take your time. It will take some courage to open those pages and stay there. So the soul is described as eternal, no beginning, no end. And again, to be honest, I by grace or whatever reason, I wouldn't take full credit for that, but I have some experiences of my own eternality. I cannot put it into words. If you say, how did it feel? It's articulated. It's like, soul is beyond words.
Yes,
right?
yes.
But it was very clear that I exist beyond this body, beyond this life. And of course, there are people who have past life regressions, and there's people, and there is a whole realm of scholarly academic study in terms of reincarnation, and like, because there are many cases that are coming more and more, and a few of them, many of them in India, of small kids, 2, 3, 4 years old, that they start to talk about things that a 3-year-old is not supposed to be talking about.
Or wouldn't even be aware of.
Yeah,
Right.
Speaking in detail about my husband and my kids, but you're 3 years old, you don't have a husband or a kid, and this village and this place, and it's like too much detailed information. They go and actually realize, yes, this person died at this time, and the timing basically coincides. And
yes,
so there's some, again, secular, purely scholarly research starting to be done on reincarnation, because for many it's just a belief, but there are, again, concrete examples that, okay, you have to do something with that. So for us, that's one point. And of course, you are asking more about the afterlife. So far,
all of it, yeah.
Yeah. There is the before life and the afterlife, because reincarnation has that spectrum. So for us, the afterlife, of course, Krishna in the Gita, in 8th chapter, verse 6, I'm giving you the reference, he will say, whatever state of consciousness you have when leaving this body, that will be basically your next destination. Like a basic principle. Like, and of course, whatever state of consciousness you have when you leave this body doesn't mean, okay, you are about to leave this body to die.
Yeah.
And just like, I don't know, a mosquito passed, and you saw the mosquito, and that was your last breath, born as a mosquito. That's not the point, right? Because some people may really become neurotic about that. Like, okay.
What a bad stroke of luck if that were a thing, right?
Yeah, exactly. So some people may think the other way. Okay, I will try to guarantee that at the last moment I have a picture of Krishna nearby, so I see the picture and I'm there. But you cannot calculate this stuff. It's more the gist of the idea was,
it's really funny.
The state of consciousness when you pass is basically how you lived your whole life.
I have a picture of Wolverine from the X-Men right there when I go.
Goes last.
Very funny.
Yeah, so
that
it's
makes
not
sense.
so calculative. It's just how you live your life will naturally determine how you move on to the next chapter.
Right. Yeah.
Again, for us, this life is one chapter. If we want to talk in terms of chapter, in terms of frames of a movie, whatever, it helps you more. So from the perspective of infinity, this is one blinking in eternity, so to say. Not to downplay what we are living now.
Of course.
But also not to put it like, okay, this is the only life, which for us will be an implication that has many problems also. Like, okay, I have only this life to attain perfection. If you do not, sorry guys, whatever, eternal hell or this option, this other option. So the doctrine of reincarnation, which is tied with the notion of karma, which has to do with...
I was going to ask,
you ask in certain ways and that creates a certain fruit.
Right.
And it's not a doctrine of chastisement or revenge, because some people see karma as like cosmic...
A punishment.
Cosmic slapping.
Yes.
No, it's just lesson on responsibility. Like, you have free will, you are a beautiful, unique individual, and for your individuality to make sense, you have to have agency, free will.
Yes.
Which doesn't mean you can do anything and everything,
yes.
but it doesn't mean that you can do nothing.
Right.
You have a responsibility. The better you use it, the broader your choices and deeper, and that will create a certain fruit. Not chastisement, just a consequence of your thoughts and words and actions. So
right. Which is a reframing of the word consequence as well, as cause and effect.
Yeah.
Whatever you cause, then you receive the effect of.
Yeah.
And that also is a positive statement as well. It's like if you plant a bunch of beautiful flowers, you're the cause and effect, the consequence of that planting are a beautiful bed of flowers.
Yeah.
So,
and if something that comes our way is not so pretty, you may be invited to think about how you may have created that for someone else, and that is coming out to your life for you to develop empathy
Right.
to what the other person received from you in the
Right.
previous chapter. So you become a more sensitive human being. So this whole law of karma is not about chastising people, but about making people responsible, aware, sensitive, empathic,
Self-aware as
and,
well.
and
yeah.
loving ultimately, because for us, love is the ultimate responsibility. You know, when I learn to love, that's the highest expression of responsibility.
I so agree.
So the law of karma is like it's a training in love ultimately,
Yeah.
because it's a training in responsibility, and
Right.
love is the ultimate responsibility.
Right.
So then you can tie karma with love rather than karma with
The
chastisement,
punishment or whatever it is. That's lovely.
Yeah.
I really like that too. A friend of mine he's been one of my best friends for, Jesus, going on 20 years now. And something he said to me, he had a very rough day out in the world, out in public, whatever it was. He gets very, very angry when he gets messed with by people in public, when people are senselessly disrespectful or inconsiderate, or, for example, I went to go, me and him went to Panera Bread, and then a lady just started backing up without looking, like was about to just back up into my truck. And he full on got out of my truck and started losing his mind. And then after I had to have a talk with him about it, and he just gets so frustrated about other people being so crappy, for lack of a better word. Like other people being so, what he says is, it's not difficult to be decent. That's what he says. And that stuck with me too, because I was like, he's got a very good point. A lot of people, it's this strange, like he's falling victim to it right now. He's so frustrated at other people's lack of decency that he's losing decency.
But for him, it's not difficult to be decent. Maybe for the other person, it's really difficult.
Right.
Because they may have come not to
what I
justify
think about.
anything and everything, but
Right.
you need to take time to contact that person's childhood and the background, and some of them come from a very broken place with lots
Yeah.
of unhealed spaces in their heart. So, and that's very necessary to understand in the karma dynamics, not just whatever is happening to you. It's just inviting you to review if you have done that to to someone else in the
Right.
past. Also, what's behind this person.
Yes.
Now, why I'm going through this particular experience? Maybe I'm being invited again in terms of responsibility and love in the ultimate responsibility. Okay, if you are treating me badly, not necessarily I have to go, oh, who did I treat badly these days, but probably also why this person is treating me that way. What's behind the bad treatment? What's the wound?
Right.
The unhealed wound.
Mm-hmm.
What's the broken child? Where's the broken? Whatever.
Yeah.
And in that exercise, I become more understanding, more compassionate, more loving.
Yeah.
And I learned my lesson. The lesson
Right.
I need to learn in that situation.
And I always, because Siddhartha, when I read Siddhartha, had a huge impact on me. And
Okay.
so did that class about Buddhism as well. So, like, I have a very interesting relationship with the Wheel of Samsara. That's like my favorite concept that I pulled from that, or at least in terms of what lingers in my mind about jumping in the wheel or separating from it entirely. That's like that Buddhist concept. So in that moment when that woman was backing up into me without realizing, I'm thinking, she probably only slept like an hour last night. Maybe her kids are being crazy. You know, it was a minivan, and there were some stickers on it.
Yeah.
So I'm like, okay, she probably has kids. And so I'm not bothered. For not even a second did I get like angry, because I rear-ended somebody before, and it was a year ago actually, and I was really stressed out with my move, and I had a bunch of stuff in the back of my truck, and I was just doing too many things at once, and just very gently tapped somebody, and they turned around and just went, "Is there a dent?" And I went,
What's a dent? Sorry.
"A dent, like an impact in the car,
Okay,
like
okay,
damage
okay.
under the car."
Marking.
And I said, "Well, not that I can see. Let's pull over," because like I'm trying to be good, responsible about it. And she goes, "No, I trust you. You're good. Have a good one." And I go, "What? What?"
There is hope in
Right,
humanity.
exactly, right? And it was holiday season too, and you know, in my experience, holiday season makes people a bit more irate than it does jolly, especially these days, probably due to financial stress and all that kind of stuff. But yeah, that was like a very important moment for me, and I thought about it when that woman started backing into me. I go, I was a mess that day. Who am I to go crazy right now?
And we have all of us have the potential to be that beautiful person who reacted in such a noble way.
Exactly, because he had
And
my
that-
well-being in
but
mind.
that person also had the potential to react or behave like you were feeling or your friend. So
Right.
it's not that we may be that way the whole day, the whole week, the whole year. We may
Yeah.
shift gears throughout
Yeah.
and it's part of, as you say, the journey and being human. But yeah, for me, it's all a big lesson in growing in compassion and understanding and really taking the time, going back to the accelerated times we are living in. Sometimes we don't even consider in our system take time to connect with the other person.
Yeah.
We are going too fast. There's no time to stop for that. But it's so needed, so required.
It really is. And slowing down, I should get it tattooed on me or something. The way I say it all the time. Like tell people in my life, I was like, just slow down. Promise, I
Tattoo
promise
it
you.
here.
Yeah.
You never lose sight of
slow
that.
down. Like that. It's I think everyone's struggling with that too, you know?
Yeah.
One thing too, a curiosity of mine, I find that most religions that I've learned about or beliefs, you know, tradition systems that I've learned about have a superiority sense. And I haven't seen that yet with you guys' tradition.
You will.
But okay, good, kind of good though, right? Because like I feel like that's something that's kind of intrinsic to a belief system, which is that like the people who are within the belief system are somehow superior to those outside
Intrinsic to human psychology.
of it. Yeah, absolutely. So I wonder about that. Like, for example, me. Right, with my life experience up to this point, I've lived entirely up to my own experiential sense of morals and my own compass through human experience. So, when I die, right, or with reincarnation, everything, it's like, is there a punishment for me not having been involved? As far as the teachings, the base principles.
Yeah. Of course, when I say you will see superiority complex, I'm not saying that the actual teaching says that.
I knew what you meant. The practitioner.
Just to clarify for the
imperfection
audience.
of any practicing group, right?
But and this is tied to your previous question on reincarnation, because again, going for a moment there, reincarnation, then having defined karma in terms of love and responsibility and growth, reincarnation is just like, hey, you have another chance now.
Got it.
Second chance, third chance,
got it.
108th chance, all the chances you need.
Okay, got it.
To learn to love, and there's no
there's no
pressure.
punishment.
1 life, 2 life, game over, eternal hell, or you disappear. So that's the spirit of reincarnation,
Beautiful.
not like throwing someone into the whatever,
Right.
to the mill. No, so but it's just okay. You have your choices. We honor your choices.
Yes.
And of course, sometimes we may choose in very unenlightened directions.
Right.
We may need to learn our lessons through the consequences of that choice, but that's how we also grow and learn. I cannot choose for you, so you grow.
I see.
You have to make your own choice, and sometimes that hurts, that whatever.
Yeah.
So reincarnation basically means that scope. It's open, and of course, then we will say regarding to your last question, when someone in the afterlife, again, depending how you lived your life, you may take birth again in this planet, in one particular species or another.
Right.
According to your corresponding level of awareness, you may be in a human vehicle, but behaving not much as a human, right? Because being human doesn't mean having the vehicle. It's like
absolutely
acting as such.
Right.
Like when you say people be more human,
yeah,
you mean something there, no? Sensitive, kind.
Empathetic.
Exactly. So if you are any of that, none of that, probably after leaving the human body, you may need to go to another vehicle to learn what you haven't learned in that particular vehicle.
Interesting.
It's all with the purpose of you learning the lesson you need to learn. It's not just chastisement, again. It's facilitating the experience and the lesson.
It's encouragement more than it is a punishment.
Even if on the outside it may seem, I was taking away my human life. No, you chose to do that by not living as a human while you had that vehicle.
I love that. Yeah, because then it's not really a punishment.
You'll be restricted.
That's the existence you kind of wanted.
Yeah, like I don't want to fully connect with that, but on some level, like jail. Of course, jail generally is more seen as chastisement or punishment, though ideally it should be a space for rehabilitation.
Right. In other countries it is.
So some people, exactly, they are using their free will in ways that are harmful to the society, to other people, so they need to be put in a restricted environment.
Right.
So there's a restriction, but the restrictions exist with the intention of facilitating growth and expansion, ideally, right? Ideally. So in one sense, if you want to speak about, okay, you lost the human form of life in your next birth, you may be put in a more restricted vehicle,
Right.
but only with the purpose of you learning the lessons that will rehabilitate you to
go
a
back.
healthy member of the society, of the world, of reality.
Fascinating. So, is there a context where, let's say, somebody is like a murderer, and they're like, okay, you're getting demoted just to simplify. I know it's not, because it's all just different frames of existence, but it's funny to sound. So, and you become like a hyena. It's a very hunting based, very intelligent, but very hunting forward creature, and that can be very cruel. And then they don't learn their lesson, and they get another change of vehicle, or maybe the same vehicle actually. Right? Wouldn't that, if they didn't change anything, would they? It's like, oh well, you're a hyena again. Clearly, you found where your Atman needs to be.
Of course, we don't have like a formula like, okay, if you don't learn as a hyena, you go back. I mean, you cannot establish
like a food chain.
You
thing.
in your next lifetime, this will happen.
Yeah.
But we trust, and we know on some degree or another, even in this life, that there is this cosmic law, this cosmic dynamics of cause and effect.
Yes.
So which will be the exact details of every case in every given, we don't know.
Yeah.
Right? I cannot.
Those are the machinations beyond our
I
understanding.
cannot sit on someone on his deathbed and make like a diagnosis and like, wait, according to how you live next life, this will.
It's a funny visual though. Yeah.
Yeah, it will be too much.
Yeah.
But yeah, we mentioned that's there, and on a more transcendental note, let's say, we will say, of course, if you lived an enlightened life, a life of love and compassion or dedication to the divine, there are different ways to talk about here. So in many traditions, they will say you transcend samsara. You spoke about samsara, the wheel of samsara, sometimes the repeated cycle of birth and death, because at one point you learn the lessons you need to learn here.
Yeah.
So like if you go to school, you are a good student, the fruit of going to school is that you leave school.
Graduate, right, exactly.
Right? Of course, you continue learning.
Yeah.
You leave that particular school, you may go to university, then you may get the PhD 1, then PhD 2. And even if when you are emeritus professor, you're still learning.
Of course.
So you may be no longer participating in samsara in a particular realm, but doesn't mean that your evolution stops at any point.
Beautiful.
Now there's an interesting point here that I'd like to mention, if you allow me.
Please.
It's connected in our tradition, but to other traditions as well. And today in the morning, a friend of mine sent a quote from the Bodhisattva, which is going to Buddhism, and they do this vow like, I know I don't care for being liberated myself.
Yes.
Until everyone else is liberated.
Right.
So they make a vow, basically, to remain in samsara.
Yes.
In compassion and loving service to others, so they get enlightened.
Right.
That's a priority for them. So we have similar examples in our tradition, different great personalities praying from that side, from that place. Please take all of them, give me their karma. Yes. I stay here paying, liberate all of them. Or I'm willing to stay here, I feel so much compassion. I don't want to leaving them here. But on top of that, we will add that in our tradition, which is a bhakti tradition, bhakti is a Sanskrit term for loving devotion. When you learn to love God fully, quote unquote, because you can always learn to love God more fully, there's no end.
Of course.
But you somehow become perfect. We could speak in terms of being very free, considerably free, or someone would say totally free from selfishness and totally free from all this negative influence, and be fully on the positive side, which is always ever evolving. We no longer care for samsara. There are many prayers in our tradition that for us, liberation, moksha or mukti, leaving samsara is not our goal. For us, our goal is learning to love, loving fully.
Yeah.
And when that happens, I don't care where I am, because I already achieved the goal, which is to love.
Right. Right.
One Franciscan theologian friend of mine, she will say, the goal of life, and I like how she puts it, the goal of life is to fall in love in an absolute way with the totality of reality.
Ooh.
You can tattoo that one as well.
Oh yeah, that's like
Maybe
if
a
this-
little long,
If this mic could drop, it would have done so right there. That
Yeah.
was
Yeah.
wow.
I
That's
like
really
that.
powerful.
I like that because sometimes we say love God. I will repeat it in a minute.
Yeah.
Because we say love God can sound like, okay, I love God. And it's like, what about everything else and everyone else? So
That
loving
is
God
God.
entails loving everything.
Right. Right.
Because
They're
everything is
synonymous.
connected to the divine.
Yes.
So she will say the goal of life is to fall in love in an absolute way with the totality of reality. So I like the expression. Because
That
generally we
is
think fall in
beautiful.
love with a girl or with...
Right.
That can only fall in love with.
It's a very limited love.
Yeah.
Right. In comparison.
And-
Wow.
And she doesn't even say love everything, but fall in love with everything, which brings this layer of surprise and charm and wonder. When you are
Beautiful.
falling in love, you're like in another dimension, right?
I
A
absolutely.
perpetual honeymoon, if you.
Yeah. Absolutely.
So when you are there, we will say you no longer care for samsara. You no longer care about. You forgot there is something called samsara, liberation, death.
Yeah.
You have fallen in love with the totality of reality in an absolute way. There
this
you
is,
are.
This is fantastic because I've been. That's kind of where my train of thought has brought me lately too. And what I was thinking is like I think I've fallen in love with the wheel of samsara. That's like something I've said to myself lately. It's because I've totally. It's like beyond a sense of acceptance. It's gone to affection, and I'm like, no, I think I wouldn't mind being in this wheel because I like it. And for example, it's like you can't feel anything good in life without. Having gone through something bad. It's like, or at least, they say, the brighter the light, the darker the shadow, and vice versa. So I go, okay, give me the darkest shadows you got so I can see the light. I'm not scared to suffer. I'm not apprehensive to go through a hard time. And I did before, and I think that's why. So I may have already gone through a little bit of an ego death in a way. Because I had a time in about late 2015 that I was in a really dark place. And it got to the point where I was having very intense suicidal thoughts. Like it was, I went to my freshman semester of college and planned on not coming home. It got that like intense and serious, like making actual plans. And thank God I didn't do anything, thank God I'm still here. But after that, I started to slowly, as I pieced my brain back together, through therapy and all thanks to the therapists that I had too. They really helped me create an identity for myself.
But something needed to die.
Something needed to die.
But it was not you.
It wasn't me.
But suicidal thoughts are generally that. You feel something needs to die, but you misinterpret that and you think, okay, I need to die.
Yeah.
So when you feel that actually something needs to die
Absolutely.
for a newer version of you.
Something I'm holding on to.
Yeah, whatever.
There's some way I'm viewing the light. My perspective needs to die. My
Actually, that
perspective.
should be happening on a daily basis.
Yeah, I know.
Birth
Just maybe
and
not
death.
as difficult.
No, yeah, of course.
But yeah, absolutely.
Properly understood, every day we should die to some version of us to embrace a new version of ourselves.
Yeah.
And of each other, because I'm seeing you today and see you tomorrow. And tomorrow you are a newer you.
Right.
If I already cling on who you were yesterday,
Yeah.
that's already an outdated perspective on who you are.
Yeah.
And the same with the divine and with everything. It's because generally we think, okay, God is this, and you put God into a box. But God is in constant update.
Yeah.
That's a chapter of my recent book. Can God be updated?
That's your title?
Yeah.
That's a very good title.
Okay,
I
I
love that.
already sell one more copy now.
There you go. Oh, absolutely. I'm going to have to go shopping after
That's
this.
okay.
The Barnes & Noble is going to have to see me
We'll
coming.
give you as a gift. No
I don't need to. But
But and I agree with, and one thing on samsara, when you said at one point,
I
think
fell in
I
love
fall-
with it. Yeah.
and there you will like this one, because samsara, apart from referring to this wheel of repeated birth and death, in Sanskrit also samsara. Sara can mean essence,
Okay.
and sam can mean full, complete. So you can go from samsara as this repeated birth and death that you may even see it as a negative thing,
Right.
chastisement. I need to get away from here, and some people conceive spiritual life as an evacuation plan into the afterlife. Some people practice from that orientation, and then you do full circle. You fall in love with samsara, and samsara means samsara, full essence.
Yeah.
So the full essence is already here now. So I
Yeah.
don't need to go anywhere. I just need to continue to arrive.
Yeah. And there's a beautiful inverse relationship between really desiring something and not getting it that I've noticed. Like the harder that you really are like, oh, I want this so bad. It'll just keep going a little
Yeah.
further away from you.
Yeah.
Even with things like fitness. When I stopped caring so much about how I looked in the mirror and what numbers were on the dumbbells I was holding, all of a sudden they went up.
Yeah.
You know, everything I was like, oh my gosh, this is exactly where I wanted to be, all that kind of stuff. And those things, I love that inverse relationship. Like I have an affection for that as well. And that's why that statement about, you know, having an absolute love for the totality of reality, this is a very resonating statement for me, because that's how I've lived since I had that death. And since then I have felt that glee of being truly interested in everything. And I annoy our coworkers with having too many fun facts about anything. They'll just say something and I go, oh, have you ever heard about this? You know, and they're like, why do you know all these things? I go, because I'm so interested in everything, literally everything. And it can be a little exhausting sometimes.
But I like to relate what you say. I mean, you identify with the idea of falling in love with reality, fall in love with samsara. You mentioned you were very curious.
Yeah.
And you are very passionately always open to new learning. And I cannot avoid connecting points with my own tradition and some very important cornerstone pieces of wisdom. We have one line that says Rasa Sar Chamatkar, which basically means the essence of love. I'm very simple here.
Yeah.
The essence of love is astonishment.
Yeah.
So for me, it's kind of what you are saying. When you fall in love with reality, you are just at awe and wonder.
Yeah. Overcome by it.
So that's the essence of being in love. It's an ongoing thing that you are. Oh, if you fall in love with someone, it doesn't mean it's over, but it's an ongoing rediscovering of everything and everyone.
Yeah.
Yourself, know thyself again.
Felt like a child again. You know,
Yeah.
it's like you look at blades of grass differently. You know?
He's quoting third verse of Shikshashtaka without knowing what he's talking about. You're referring to so many pieces of wisdom from our tradition that you never read, but it's again
that's what
that
I
shows
mean.
the universality of all the things.
And that's why I have a draw to this tradition as well, is because I keep stumbling upon it without reading it.
That's how it's
pretty cool.
That's how it should be. Yeah, you mentioned childlike.
Yeah.
Jesus says in the Bible, of course, those who are like children, only them can enter into the kingdom of God. That's in the Bible.
Yeah, it is. Yeah.
And I knew that. And 2 years ago, I was having a podcast. I have my own podcast, Hare Krishna, #2 podcast in the world. No, joking. And I love to talk with people from other traditions as well. From my tradition, but sister schools. And one of them was a scholar in Vedic tradition, which is a broader Hindu umbrella from, again, as I mentioned before, Sri Chaitanya, our founder, came from that particular womb, as Jesus came from Judaism.
I see.
And Chaitanya, again, he didn't establish an organized religion. That eventually happened. So this scholar will tell me that when I said, oh, only those who are like Jesus say, only who are like children can enter into the kingdom of God. He said, oh, that's a verse coming from the Rig Veda also. I didn't know that verse. The Rig Veda is basically the most ancient Hindu text from thousands of years ago. And he quoted the Sanskrit and he translates like exactly the same thing.
Joseph Campbell, he figured it out.
And then you say the grass example.
Yeah.
And I look at Namrasa, who happens to be behind the camera there. Of the most important things Sri Chaitanya ever said, and for us, basically, it's the most important instruction he ever gave, the golden rule he ever gave. It starts saying, Trinadapi Sunichina, be more humble, be as humble as a blade of grass. And then he says, be as compassionate or tolerant as a tree. So he's talking about this quote-unquote ordinary stuff from nature that we walk through every day, grass, tree, but stopping, again, not going so fast, paying a special attention, finding a guru in the grass and saying, wow, I'm looking at the grass and I'm at wonder because the grass is bending, as I like to say, be as humble as a blade of grass. How the grass is humble is bending without breaking.
Always, right.
No? Without breaking, because we could try to be humble in a way that breaks us.
Yeah.
In a
Can't be too
dysfunctional
rigid.
way.
Right.
Be humble, and you humiliate yourself in a toxic way. Be humble in a blade, like a blade of grass. That's his first line of his most important instruction, and you just said it without ever having read it before. So
Wow, that's cool.
That's cool.
That's really cool.
Yeah.
Wow. Woo! That's a kicker. That's beautiful.
Yeah. Yeah, that's for me the
Humble as a blade of grass.
yeah. He then says be as tolerant as a tree, and again, as tolerant as a tree means how does the tree tolerate? That's for me the main spirit of the verse, not as tolerant as the tree, like on an equal level.
Yeah.
But how does the tree tolerate? Be as humble as the blade of grass. How the grass is humble, bending without breaking. How does the tree tolerate? While giving.
I was going to say, that was going to be my guess.
Tolerating cold, snow,
Yeah.
people not finding a nearby restroom, urinating there,
Right. Yeah.
the couple falling in love,
Yeah.
right in there. And meanwhile, trees giving air, shadow, shelter, fruit,
Uh-huh.
giving. I'm deeply rooted, growing upwards, growing downwards.
Without seeking anything in return.
Yeah, and then comes that third line. He had just say that.
Yeah.
Did you read this before?
No.
No?
You're saying exactly.
Yes.
I'm mind blown right now.
Yeah.
I literally just said it.
He just and he just said if you haven't heard now Russ is speaking because he may not have the phone the
Yeah,
microphone
true.
close. You just say and then not giving without expecting anything in return.
Right.
That's the next line of the verse. Amani nam manadena, like offering honor to everyone and not expecting
Right.
honor for yourself.
Yeah.
And
The
then he
most
concludes-
beautiful form of love.
And he
a
says,
mother, really.
Kirtaniya Sadahari. In that way, you will be able to constantly glorify, praise God without interruption. If you live your life in that way,
It's
so
beautiful.
you already knew the verse. You are closer to the tradition that you know. And I'm not
Now
saying
you
that.
see what I mean.
And I'm not saying that in a way of trying to make you a member. But I'm saying that
You can.
that's the genuine way of participating in a mystical and a spiritual tradition. Even if you are
Right.
not an official affiliated member,
Yeah.
you are intuitively and connecting with like saying the things that are already there without knowing they're already there.
Yeah.
And some people maybe just subscribe officially with the names and I'm doing the correct ritual and the good boy, good girl stuff.
Right. Right.
But they may not be substantially
You gotta
participating.
feel it. Yeah. That's all credit to a combo of Queen Christine and Joseph Campbell, like a combo act
Okay.
of those two for, I guess, why I understand these things, and for having gone through a death, for lack of better wording.
Yeah.
Yeah, because it's interesting too. It's like people talk about being able to go back and change something or whatever. Like I wouldn't. I need to go through that. What that was, because it changed my brain forever. You know, you know what? I should say it out loud because then I'll actually do it. I've been wanting to write a book about it for a long time. And I have a title in my mind and everything because it's what I've been calling it my whole life, which is the trampoline effect. So it's like when you slam down on the ground with an insane velocity and weight, you rebound to a totally different level, higher than you were when you started. And because that's right there, that's a trampoline. You just have to put some force into that landing and let yourself just, you know, I don't want to slam the table, but like just slam down, and then whatever happens afterwards is that. And now when I talk to other people, especially my age range, within like 5 minutes, I'm like, oh, you've trampolined. Like it's a disposition, a perspective on life, a willingness to love the blade of grass, I guess, that I pick up on from other people, and I go, oh, you've been through literal hell. You've visited that place. So.
Yeah. Beautiful. Please write that book. You have your
I
first
need
two
to.
customers
That's why.
here.
Yeah, that's why I'm saying it out loud too, because it's like if I say it and then like, these people
it's
seeing
the
it, like
sound
now
is
I gotta write it.
outside,
Yeah.
Yeah, and it reminds me two things. One, Carl Jung saying a tree can only, it's the branches going back to the tree and the grass.
Mm-hmm.
The branches of a tree can grow up to heaven only if its roots have gone down to hell.
Yeah.
In connection to what you say.
Ooh, yeah.
And there's a book that you may like that may be an inspiration for your own book in terms of the trampoline effect, that
Okay.
going down can become its own, create its own momentum to go up. There's a book by one of my mentors. He's a Franciscan author,
Awesome.
Father Richard Rohr.
Okay.
And one book is called, his most famous book is called Falling Upward.
Oh yeah, I know that. I know the title.
Okay. It's a very interesting one. And it's very Jungian because it speaks about the two halves of life.
Yes.
but also speaks about how he will say we generally grow more by doing it wrong than by doing it right.
Right. Oh, that's on my
So-
list for sure. You gotta fail. You have to. You gotta face plant it.
Want to conclude?
You have to say that in front of the camera, Narasa. Please
come-
come.
yeah, bring your
Yeah,
face
yeah,
over
they're
here,
missing
beautiful.
you. They're missing
Come
you.
here, handsome.
Yeah. This is the first Namrasa podcast without Namrasa. That's so weird.
Hey, where is he? Where is
Bless.
he?
See you guys.
There he is.
There he is.
There
I'm
he is.
here.
There he is.
I'm
yes,
working
yes.
the back of the cameras.
You're
here,
young
but-
Jamie today.
Yeah, I am.
Something you would like to say, Narasa, for us to...
No, amazing conversation. Really, really nice. I just want to tie it all together somehow, and you guys decide how you want to do that.
Yeah, sure. I'll give it a shot. Take a swing. Yeah, I mean, I've always been curious about all these kinds of things, and I'm like really grateful because I've really enjoyed talking with you about this. It's been a lovely conversation too, and I like that we both gotten excited about things that the other one has said. That's how I know it's a real exchange, you know, and it definitely feels like something we should have a round 2 for. So maybe next time you're around, we'll do another one because I still have questions.
Yeah, and I still have my podcast, so you may be a potential
Hey,
guest there. Why not?
There you go.
That's
there
a
you go.
perfect excuse to have your own podcast, that you invite the people you admire and love to continue engaging in conversations. So,
Absolutely.
yeah,
I mean-
and I'm very blessed, and yeah, I'm happy to discover a new kindred spirit and pilgrim on the journey. And it's always, for me, it's very humbling because I spend lots of time opening my mouth and teaching and giving lectures, so to say. But I really try to keep my sanity in place, trying to
Yes.
listen and learn from other people and engage in conversation. I don't believe that much in monologues so much, and it's one way, but always reciprocal, nourishing, and
I have the
giving
same
enrich.
feeling too.
So I'm leaving this table blessed and enriched and nourished on a new level. So in part is, of course, to your blessed mother, but also you representing all the gifts she gave to you. So thank you.
Absolutely.
Thank your mother. Thanks Joseph Campbell. Thanks my mom, who happens to be nearby here.
Oh,
Coming to-
nice.
He
Awesome.
came to visit for Christmas in the U.S. So
Oh, love it.
we all owe a lot of that to our
Wish the weather
beautiful
was better for
moms. Yeah.
But yeah, all love to the moms, and definitely speaking as the layman here, and speaking to an expert, it's open-mindedness, I think, is the call to action here, right? Like these conversations can't happen unless people are willing to.
Thank you for being willing to that.
Absolutely. Thanks for being willing to talk to me. It's been lovely, my friend.
A new friend here. Thank you, Naras, for inviting us and gifting me this new friend.
Absolutely. Absolutely.
Thank you.
Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna.